My name is Shortly. This video will showcase a React application that I've been working on for my current employer. This application is called Campaign Builder, and it is used to collect information such as questions, answers, images, and more to create campaigns. Before I start, I want to lay out two main points that I want to discuss. First, I will show the built-out application that I developed. Second, I will show and talk about the functionality that I'm most proud of. To start, we are going to the Application tab in the browser. The application is running locally and it is currently not connected to our backend API because there's some sensitive information that I don't want to display. As you can see, it looks almost exactly the same as the wireframe that I showed in the intro. Let's briefly go over some of the functionality in here. Let's start with the setup section. That's where you would go to create a new campaign or load up an old campaign. Once we're done with the setup, we go into the Objective tab. The Objective section is where you select the campaign template format to start with. I currently have nothing showing on the right side of the preview form because the API is not connected. Next, we go into the Audience tab. The Audience section is where you select the demographic and the number of people you want to recruit for the study. At the bottom right corner, that's where you can see the current price, and also you can select the panel size. There's a pretty neat functionality that I want to show here. The first option is unlock, but if you were to select the first one, for example, it would become unlock and set the price to premium automatically. Then, if you realize that you didn't want to pay $4, you can go back to standard and then the premium section will lock back up. Next, we're going to the Creative tab. The Creative section is where you go to add a company logo, brand name, and project name. We are using a package called Cloudinary to manage our media assets like images and videos. Changing the text input here instantly updates the preview section. Next, we're going to the Questions tab. Here, that's where all the questions you've added will be displayed if you add a campaign. Since there's no campaign and no questions currently, here we're going to add a question. We add a question by selecting as many questions below as we like. The questions pops up in our questions tab here, and it will also instantly show up in the previous section. A single question card is made of several sections. We can update the question to our liking. We can decide whether we want the answers input tab to be radio or checkbox. And last, the answer section can update, add, delete, and sort the answers. All changes update instantly in the study preview. And now for the second part, we are going to the editor and to see the code base and talk about the functionality that I'm most proud of. I'm mostly proud of the question section. It was a bit of a challenge to build. Before going into the questions folder, let's quickly talk about Redux. It's an npm package that I use to manage global state within the whole application. And also, let's open up the utility folder here where you can see a few helper functions that I created to be reused all over the code base. Now let's talk about the questions implementation, which is the part that I'm mostly proud of. I decided to divide the questions into 8 different smaller components instead of creating one main file to house all the code. Each of the smaller components have specific set of things that they are responsible for. For example, the answer card component takes care of displaying, updating, adding, and removing answers. The browser questions component is responsible for displaying questions, topic, and sample questions. There are a few more smaller components that I can talk about, but for the sake of time, let's look at the main questions component. Here I'm importing a few hooks from both React and React Redux, and I'm also importing some of the utility function and a few of the smaller components. Here I am using the useSelector hook to pull in global state from the store in Redux. Here I'm initializing the dispatch variable as useDispatch so that I can dispatch action to update global state. Here I'm using the useState hook to create a few variables and their respective sets functions. Here I'm using the useEffect hook. I have two of them below. The first one only runs once when the component is mounted. It calls the handle open middle section function, which dispatch the open middle section action and allow the middle section of the app to open and show the content of the questions component. The second one run every time the display browser and scroll margin state changes. It calls the execute scroll function and also call the set imported questions to set an array of questions template simple in state. The rest of the questions component comprise of a few more handler functions that gets called on specific events like onClick and onChange. These are the main things I wanted to show in this video. I'm happy to dive in deeper and answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Talk soon.